Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new, welcome in. My name is Gerardo. We're going to be talking about HEX in this video, and the fact that we are at new all-time highs. Yesterday I made a video called A Coiled Spring, and sure enough, it looks like the spring got sprung and we popped out of this mini accumulation zone, this consolidation region, which we pointed out that it could very likely be a classic bull flag. Now I changed all the cookies on my computer today, so I have to kind of update settings, but check it out. If you have this move that we did have and you break out of this mini consolidation period that we did break out of, I told you guys that if you place your pole, the pole of your flag at the point of breakout, then you are looking at potentially a target of about 27 cents. So that's our target, is 27 cents. And what did we do today? Well, we wicked up to a new all-time high of 22.7 cents on this chart. If you look back here, our previous all-time high wick was 21.86 cents, and you see that we clearly breached above it. So congratulations to everyone holding HEX on the new all-time high. And I want to point out a little bit of the psychology of how all-time highs work, right? So at this point in time, you're looking at a chart where literally every single person who ever invested in HEX is profitable for the most part, right? This is a line chart, obviously on a candle chart. Then I guess you could say the people who got filled above 20.2 cents on this wick, right, which is only a few hours. So with the exception of a few hours, the last 1.5 plus years that HEX has existed, everyone is in profit. Again, with the exception of a few hours. So that's pretty impressive, and that's pretty much what all-time highs say, right? And so you run into this scenario where everyone is profitable, and thus sure there is an incentive to sell, but at the same time it's about, well, who's trying to sell at this point when you have clear skies? Because from a technical perspective, this is where price discovery mode happens. When you break all-time highs, because everyone is profitable, well, guess what? It's a good point where new guys can come in and kind of set a new baseline for their entry, right? Because people who haven't been around HEX from the start, they see 20 cents, and that's pretty cheap, right? That's pretty cheap. You can get a lot of them. You can get 5 for every $1, and so if you throw in $1,000, you can get what at this point in time? 5,000 HEX. So you can't get 5,000 Ethereum by throwing $1,000 or 5,000 Bitcoin, but you can get 5,000 HEX. You can't even get 5,000 Dogecoin, right? I think Doge is like, what's it at? That's a good question. 27 cents. I mean, HEX is cheaper than Doge, right? The reason I point that out is because we have clear skies. We have a scenario where we can establish a new sort of paradigm, right? Once we break this, if we break it and we continue on moving higher, which I would not bet against this trend. I would not bet against this strong uptrend. All right, but the psychology there is that, well, sure, you have some people selling, like that's why there was this wick, because some people might have, say, bought this top, and so they're break even. But for the most part, if you keep testing this region and it breaks, it's more likely to shoot to the upside. So I think there's a lot of potential upside, right, over the next few months, weeks, months, years for HEX. And this is sort of a shorter term perspective. So let's check out a longer term perspective. And this is pretty important. And I don't think a lot of people give enough credit to this fact. The fact that HEX has held its 20-week moving average, which for many cryptos, and not even just cryptos, for many assets in general, the 20-week moving average is kind of a make or break whether you're bullish or bearish in that specific asset. And we've held, right? HEX has held its 20-week moving average ever since January of this year. So all year long, it's held what you could refer to as a bull market threshold, a line in the sand. And that's really impressive. That's really impressive because if you look at it, obviously over here it launched and didn't even have a 20-week moving average until it existed for 20 weeks. And then you start actually getting data, and then people realize like, oh, we might be in a bubble. right? We're pretty far extended above our 20-week that just came into existence. So it comes back down to test these averages. It didn't even hold them, right? It broke beneath these averages for a bit, came back above, couldn't hold them for a second time, and then came back above them, and only for the first time in January of this year, and then a second retest in February, is when we actually could say, okay, we're holding our 20-week moving average of support, and it looks like it's off to the races. And again, we've had a pretty nice uptrend, about a 30x, right, ever since we held from down here. So yeah, that's a pretty strong support in my opinion. Right now, the 20-week moving average is sitting at about 9 to 10 cents. All right, but we haven't even tested it since, I guess you could argue back here, April 26th, we had a sort of test. But yeah, as long as price keeps running away from it, the moving average will just keep catching up to it. And at some point, if we do come back down to it, it doesn't have to be at 9 or 10 cents. It could be higher, right? Even going sideways for a while would allow these moving averages to catch up. And so that they're moving for a reason, right? They're moving targets. But another similar channel, which I like to look at on the 3-day chart, is this 20 period moving average channel. And on a 3-day, it effectively becomes a 60-day moving average channel. So it takes your 60-day MA and then gives you some kind of margin and creates this channel for you. The reason I like it is because unlike our 20-week over here, unlike our 20-week moving averages, 20 SMA and 21 EMA, this one actually did get tested a few times, right? This one came back down and got tested recently, actually. And it's similar in the sense that, well, this channel didn't hold real support, I guess other than back here, until January of this year. So again, it's similar to those, but a little shorter term. So it kind of gives you an idea of if we're just going to continue this uptrend, because, I mean, HEX is new, right? You can't argue it's exactly like Bitcoin that has to come back down to its 20-week moving average. Maybe its uptrend support is characterized by a different set of averages. And so I like to look at this one because it seems to be fulfilling that role quite nicely. Again, since January, we had this move back down to it. It hopped off of it, came back down just barely beneath it for this really nice doji. Look at this doji candle, and it was the kind of a fake out 3-day candle before we came back into the channel, found it as support, came back above it, and we seem to keep testing it as support over here, right? And this wick, you could argue, came down really close to it if you were to set, say, a limit order slightly above the channel. This one, same idea, support, bounce, and currently this channel is sitting between 12 and 15 cents, right? The top of it is 15 cents, the bottom of it is 12 cents. And I mean, it just looks good, man. We're in a clear uptrend, right? A line chart makes that more apparent, how you have your high, your low, your higher high, higher low, higher low, higher high, kind of a mini accumulation region, but we had our double bottom and now we have a higher high than this previous zone. And it's important to note that being at these levels sustainably is impressive. It's impressive to be at a sustainable 20 cents, because when we reach it over here on a wick and then the next day we were already down to 14 cents, that's a bit worrisome. That's like, okay, this looks like kind of topish, right? And it was. Now, I'm not saying I was calling that, but in retrospect, it's pretty easy to tell that this was a more or less local top region. But then again, that was only in July 15th. So what did you have to wait? Like 42 days? What is that? Like 6 weeks? It's not that long, right? Plenty of cryptos aren't even above their all-time highs. Look at Bitcoin, 47K. It reached 65. Ethereum, it's at 3K. It reached 4,400. HEX is currently at all-time highs. So there are few coins that are even up today, right? Just HEX and a few others. But HEX is number 3 crypto, sitting at about $116 billion market cap. Nice volume today at about $37 million. Pretty interesting, because if you look at our liquidity calculator, I was saying how there's about $40 million of liquidity across both pools, Uniswap V2 and V3. So that's pretty cool to see that there's a good amount of volume. There's a good amount of those pools being used with volume, clear uptrend, like I was saying. And so now we really wait. I like to see the fact that we have candles up here that we've never had before. with all-time highs. Once again, these were wicks, so the fact that we're filling it with candles, I really like to see. And we'll see what transpires from here, right? LookIntoHex.com obviously has some of the, not some of the, but I would say the best quantitative charts in the world available to you, so you can access on your own and kind of interact with them. And so we're currently sitting above yellow on our regression rainbow, which is good to see, on our equidistant one, as well as on our Fibonacci one. We just crossed above it. Very nice. It's about 19 cents, and we're clearly above 19 cents. So we were above yellow on both of our Fibonacci and our equidistant regression rainbows. So code yellow. Could we see green incoming? Maybe. It seems that HEX is tracking Ethereum super nicely. And I noticed this earlier that I hadn't pointed out before, that we had this peak up to green with HEX. Notice how close from its launch to Ether, where Ether came up to this green level as well, had a peak. Then what happened, right? With Ether, it came back down. With HEX, it came back down. And then what happened? Ether had this kind of tiny bull flag, right? Between yellow and green. HEX seems to be making a tiny bull flag on its chart between yellow and green before it actually popped off to, I like the Fibonacci model because these levels are a little more defined. It popped off to the blue region, right? And blue in September would correspond to, just a little bullish prediction, I guess. By the end of September, this cyan curve corresponds to 60 cents. By the beginning of September, it's about 40 cents. So 40 to 60 cents, if we were to play out a similar move to this in September, would not surprise me at all. And then again, that 40 to 60 cents converges with our, bull flag targets of 25 to like 55 cents, right? Given that we've doubled technical targets in the past and accounting for both the model where we use wicks and where we don't use wicks. So that whole bull flag model takes you from 25 to 60 cents, whereas a fractal on the HEX versus ETH regression rainbow would take you anywhere from like 40 to 60 cents. And we're talking September, October, right? Which is just right around the corner. Again, it converges with the narrative that, hey, PulseChain is launching, so you want to hold on to your HEX or buy more so that you get a nice, you get your forked coins. And it seems to be that HEX on Ethereum is being referred to as EHEX now. That's fine. I'm just going to roll with it, roll with the nomenclature punches as they come. But yeah, we're going to refer to HEX just as HEX until HEX on Pulse exists. Then we can obviously adapt to the nomenclature a little more comfortably, right? And we'll also adapt on the website, so do not worry about that. As soon as I get new details, right? You know that as soon as new data comes in, then we'll set things up accordingly so you can track everything that you care about related to HEX, Pulse, and EHEX. It's going to be explained, all right? It's going to be explained. But for now, I do appreciate you watching. Check out the site if you haven't already. I'm really proud of the site, right? We have some amazing charts on here from the regression rainbow, heat maps, HEX versus BTC Ether, and some other cool ones. You can actually call these charts in the Telegram chat room, which is t.me/lookintohex. I'll leave a link to that. You can do !rainbow, and it gives you a link to this one. You can do !heat maps or risk metric for this one, or !risk. You can do !BTC, !ETH, and so on for these. It's a pinned message in the chat room, so go ahead and check it out. We're almost at 400 members. We just crossed 300 recently, so you guys are piling on in there. We have some pretty good pretty good engagement in there. So yeah, go ahead and join the fun in there. But other than that, things look good to me, right? Things look good to me. Hopefully we'll do another live stream this weekend, kind of Q&A. So get your questions ready. We can talk Pulse, HEX, PHEX, EHEX, Pulse, all that stuff. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get to 6,000 subs. We're almost there. And yeah, comment down below what your thoughts are on these models. Are you as bullish as I am? 25, 30, 50, 60 cents? Where do you think we're going to fall within that range? And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video, all right?